All right, hi. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. My name is Stephen Webb from Steve's True History and Knowledge channel, bringing you another presentation on this beautiful Sunday. Today's presentation is called The Cultures of Northeast Africa Prior to Predynastic Egypt. And we're really covering the period from about 50,000 BC, which is around the beginning of modern humans, to about 15,000 BCE. Culture in Northeast Africa from 50,000 to 38,000 BCE. The cultures of East and Northeast Africa, particularly of Sudan and Ethiopia, are moving north into Egypt, west to the Niger-Congo Bend, across the Red Sea and onto the Arabian Peninsula, and into the Persian Gulf. So migrations are flowing from East Africa, moving north, west, and east. Around the time of about 50,000 BCE, modern humans were already in the following places: Egypt, the Sinai Peninsula, and the adjacent areas of the Levant. In central Sudan, hand axes of the Khor Abu Anga site are some of the earliest known tools of the Middle Stone Age. The Middle Stone, sorry, found in the area during the Middle Stone Age. The Middle Stone Age of Nubia is dated to about 38,000 BCE, and some of the tool industries have been identified as the Nubian Mousterian, like found in Europe and the Near East, the Dentaculate Mousterian, and the Middle Paleolithic Sagoan and Lupembam, like found in Central and East Africa. The Nubian Mousterian people mined quarries and had workshops. Therefore, mining is at least 40,000 years old in Nubia. These people hunted large animals and fished. The Kormusan industry comes into existence around the same time. Northeast Africa and Levant culture about 40,000 years ago is in this is the area that we're looking at, covering Egypt, the Sinai Peninsula, Canaan. At this time it would have been Canaan. We don't know what it's called before Canaan. Libya and Sudan and the western coast of the Red Sea. From Egypt, these modern humans brought in the later Stone Age industry already found in eastern and northeastern Africa, and they brought it into the Levant. Professor Errett says this created a regional cultural complex spanning from Libya, Egypt, and into the Levant. This culture was like that of the Dabin industry, first established in Libya and found throughout Egypt, which existed about 40,000 years ago. Some of the known sites found in Egypt of this culture is Khor Musa, found in far southern Egypt, Nazlet Khater in Middle Egypt, and Sad Mian Cave in northern Egypt near the coast. Northeast African culture 50,000 years ago to about 11,000 years ago. The industry and the tools that these people were using lasted from about the time span of 48,000 BCE until about 19,000 BCE or later. And about 30,000 BCE, the Sahara began to dry up and people living within it began to search for other hospitable areas near water, especially the Nile River. After this, there are many different cultures found throughout the region, and many existing at the same time with each other from about 22,000 to 9000 BCE. The Gemmaean culture in Sudan follows, and then later several industries form on and around the Wadi Hafla of northern Sudan or Nubia from about the time of 20,000 to 9000 BCE. The late glacial maximum in Northeast Africa. The Middle Stone Age people and their technologies were replaced by more advanced later Stone Age tools and techniques at around the time of the LGM, or the late glacial maximum. The conditions of the LGM resulted in famine and a shortage of food, which created the need for the people's food collecting efforts to evolve. This is what Professor Errett is saying. During the time of the LGM at 22,000 to 20,000 BCE, the Afro-Asiatic speaking ancestral people of Egypt were in the highlands of Ethiopia. The ancestors of the people, these are the ancestors of the people who would later make up the larger portion of the inhabitants of Egypt. At the same time, the Nilo-Saharan ancestral people were located in between the Upper Nile River north and northwest of the highlands and the western edges of the same highlands. These people too helped to make up the population of later Egypt as well and became their kings. So if you picture this kind of, you got the Ethiopian highlands, and these are Afro-Asiatic speaking people, and they can look down on the valley and down into the basin, the Nile River basin, where the Nilotic or Nile River people are at. Late Stone Age in Northeast Africa. Other cultures had existed there along with or after the Dabbing culture, namely the Fakurian culture in Lower Nubia and Upper Egypt from about 21,500 BCE, replaced by the Hafan and the Kubanian cultures, which according to Erit ended about 19,000 BCE. Therefore, by this time, there was no longer a Middle Stone Age in northern Africa. Either the people practicing it had all died off, or they assimilated into the more advanced culture and adopted the better practices, which is what usually happens. The Sicilian and Auranian industries or complexes also existed around this time within the same region. The Sicilian was well established in Upper Egypt at about 17,000 BCE. Late Stone Age migration north and introduction of wild grain harvesting into Egypt, which is really the turning point and really the most important beginnings of pre-dynastic Egypt. The people who used these two techniques of tool making had common characteristics with the later Stone Age people who lived south of Egypt and Libya. Because evidence has been found of the practice of removing the incisor teeth in locations farther north than the Middle Nile Basin where the Nilo-Saharan people were found, a practice also used by the Auranians, which we mentioned previously. It has been suggested that this new practice moved north from there, meaning it moved north from central Sudan by the Nilo-Saharan people. In Egypt at about 15,000 BCE, convincing evidence of tools that are known to be used farther south and east of Egypt are now permanently used there in Egypt. What is even more important is these tools show that for the first time, they began to harvest wild grain in Egypt as early as about 15,000 BCE. So this is the beginning of pre-dynastic Egypt. Population boom in the highlands of Ethiopia. Here's a picture of the highlands. This is found in the, so what we were just speaking about is found in the Kadan industry in Lower Nubia, just below Egypt's southern border, and in far southern Egypt, which lasted from about 15,000 BCE, previously mentioned, for 6,000 years to about 9,000 BCE. The tools that they used were lunates to harvest the grain and grindstones to grind it down like flour to make flat bread. The highlands of Ethiopia were an ideal place for grass to grow, of course, because of all the precipitation. This provided an abundance of food and the ability for families to become more sedentary and helped to facilitate population increases, thus creating populations that were able to expand out and into new territories and move into places like Egypt and across the Red Sea. Clans in the unilineal descent system of Northeast Africa. The clans of Ethiopia created the communities they lived in based on a unilineal descent system. Clans who were related formed alliances against other clans, and each clan had its own deity, and they made sacrifices to the deity to bring good fortune to their people. The spiritual leaders at this time performed rituals of their own or for the natural phenomenon that they witnessed, such as things in nature that they were affected by, such as the rain, thunder, and storms. The earliest forms of family descent appeared to be clan and lineal based forms taken from matrilineal descent and inheritance. Family clans separated and cousins married each other. These ideas were found in the early Nilo-Saharan ancestry in Sudan. The Ethiopian ancestors of the Egyptians and Omotics. Omotics are clans of found in southern Ethiopia, part of the Afro-Asiatic family. The Highland, and I just noticed you see the cross on this lady's shirt here. Um, we know that Ethiopia is a Christian nation. The highlands of Ethiopia were an ideal place for grass to grow. This provided an abundance of food and the ability for families to become more sedentary and help to facilitate public. Oh, oh, sorry. This is just a repeat of what I already said. Sorry about that. For the Afro-Asiatic family in the Ethiopian highlands, the Omotic were the first to branch off and move into the southern Ethiopian highlands, which would later help to isolate them from the city cultural development that occurred within Egypt, the Fertile Crescent, Sumer, and the cities of Ethiopia. Ancestors of Egyptians and Sumerians and the word for God. The second group to branch off were the Erythraelites, who were like the modern Eritreans. They moved north around the Red Sea. This would be the branch that would become the ancestors of the ancient Egyptians. Each family clan of the Afro-Asiatic speakers had its own god. This was the ancestral prototype of what will become the gods of each local Egyptian nome. It is also thoughtful to point out that the Omotic branch spoke an agglutinative language in comparison to the Sumerians, who also spoke an agglutinative language. I say this because of the migration route from Ethiopia across the Red Sea and onto the Arabian Peninsula. However, the Nilotic people's language is also agglutinative, and the Sumerians are thought to be of Nilotic ancestry. The name for these clan gods were Neto, which the ancient Egyptian word for God, Neter, was derived from. Evolution of clans to states through God. These early clan ideas are also found later in the people of Israel. Uh, you can see, like, from all the split of all the tribes of Jacob. These are the early roots of what would later become a state system with a state deity found in Egypt at the time of the unification of the kingdoms, seen in the Egyptian sun gods Ra and Horus. Uh, the Omotic branch of the Afro-Asiatic speakers who moved to northwest Ethiopia still believed in the idea of a spirit like the early Africans and hold some of the earliest evidence of these religious beliefs. This is a picture of the Karo tribe taken by Donald Godkedding, a Koro tribe found in southwest Ethiopia. Ra divides the family represented by circles. Egyptians first developed the use of this is what Churchwood is saying. Egyptians first developed the use of a totem or standard for each part of the family based on the Tem-2 or totem of a symbol which indicates the split of the family into two groups, or the split of heaven, the split of Egypt, and other things into two halves, or just duality. Tem is Adam Ra, therefore Ra first divides the family. Land and people were usually divided by north and south and east and west. Let me just say that again. Ra, or Adam, first divides the family. Churchwood believes that the star cult comes from the sun cult, and the symbols of the star cults have been found extremely far from Africa, even in Cornwall, England, while the warrior Horus as a star was worshipped in Egypt. According to Churchwood, this people were in Cornwall before he's saying the star cult people were in Cornwall before the Druids arrived, who used the solar mythology. So the Druids used the solar mythologies, but the star cult people were already there in Cornwall, Egypt, before the Druids arrived. However, the star cults represented the division of north and south differently by two circles together. The two circles came before the three circles that the solar cult used. The three circles of the solar cult have been found at Rough Tor in Cornwall. Thor and Hor and the Egyptian gnomes. Interestingly, the site of Rough Tor in Tasmania, of which the whole native population was exterminated by Europeans, is thought to be similar but of a different meaning. Similar to Rough Tor in Cornwall. Thor is like the superhero Thor, taken, of course, from Hor or Horus, the great warrior. Churchwood says the three circles in Cornwall represent the division of the heavens in 3/12s, totaling 36 divisions at the same time of the division of Egypt into the 36 gnomes. Here we have a picture of Horus here. The Garden of Eden is heaven, the Turkana and Atem. Therefore, Egypt must represent the heavens, but the heavens were really at the Pharaoh's royal court in the Garden of Atem, where you would go to visit Ra upon death, the sons of Ra or the children of the sun, and your mother and your father. While the common people were considered the representatives of the earth, the same as the children of men in the Bible. Churchwood says the tall race of Europe was a race of Turkana from an exodus from Egypt. We know that Turkana are a Nile River people. Lake Turkana and the Nile used to be connected when the Lake Turkana was had a much higher water level. And in Turkana's language, they have a word called idiom, which is the same as atom or atom of or atom, and it means fireplace or the fire. And we know uh, the god of fire, um, equivalent to Ra or Atum. There's many gods that are the equivalent, such as Odin or Woden, um, and others across the world. They come from the sun and serpent, or from Zion. Bibliography, we have P.L. Siney, Ancient Nubia, Christopher Ehret, Cambridge World History, Albert Churchwood, Origin and Evolution of Primitive Man, and the Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man. And we have Chica Efmesia, the Turkana people. I'm Stephen Webb from San Diego. Thank you for listening, and we're getting close to reaching pre-dynastic Egypt. So the next, although I've already posted a lot of videos on a lot of interesting things that are gonna come up, but we're reaching kind of like milestone at 15,000 BCE, which we mentioned was the time when grain collection is introduced into southern Egypt and northern Nubia, and that really changes everything. All right, take care. Have a good day.